Hey, here they are. Head Gardener Lee McGrady there, bottom left of your screen, and the Fresh Air team, John Agate and Anna Todd. How's everyone doing? Let's start with you, John. How are you? Oh, he's muted up.
I'm muted. Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Just hoping the weather will improve because then I can help my mum with the garden a bit because we're trying to. It's a bit overgrown at the moment, to be honest, because it's been getting a lot of water, and also it needs to improve as well because obviously geraniums and things that we have, they keep having to go undercover, so. That's not great, really, especially when you're trying to get in and take your shoes off and stuff, and there's just geraniums everywhere, and it's really awkward.
Well, they smell good when you brush against them, but I guess it sounds like you've got to get them outside. You've got some work to do there. That's geranium still indoors on the 12th of July. We'll go to the head gardener for his view on that. Oh, he's shaking his head already. Anna Todd, how are you?
Not too bad. Still feeling a bit more after the football, but
What happened?
Getting over cold. Well, it was the first time England have made it through to the final. I was going to say actually probably before my life began. I think that long ago, and they first time managed to make it all the way to the final and got beaten. Well, it went. Unfortunately, it went to the. Well, I say inevitable. It went to the dreaded extra time after a 1-1 draw with Italy, and I think we ended up losing something like 3-2 on penalties. So so it was the first time that we'd gone that far in absolutely ages. So still feeling it a bit because I've been watching it since it started. So
I get it. Yeah. Head Gardener McGrady's quite unruffled by the whole business, though. I think, is that right, Lee?
I was watching Gangs of New York on the other side.
I didn't watch the football either, Lee. But I'm not interested in football.
However, go on, Lee.
It's appalling the behaviour of some of the fans, though.
Yeah, rascals. Yeah, they are a disgrace. What other word is there?
Exactly.
Unbelievable. No excuses. I mean, it's been a tough time for people, but there's no reason for behaving like some of the videos that have been working their way around social media and probably mainstream media as well. Lee, I wanted to ask you, have you ever maintained a football pitch? That looks like the sort of job a lawnophile, if that's what you're called, would love to do. Tennis courts, football pitches?
For a few years, I used to maintain 32 football pitches.
Did you really?
Yeah. I worked for a local council and we had to maintain the weekend pitches for the Sunday and Saturday leagues.
Of course.
It was part of my job to do the line marking, to keep the grass cut, to check the fixability for games, to make sure they were safe.
Yeah.
But I did work on a bowling green for quite some time. Well, that was my favourite.
I bet.
I don't like playing bowls. Never played bowls in my life, but I used to love doing the greens.
Spirit level for that. Spirit level and a fine-tooth comb, no doubt.
Well, no, because I'm a northern, so we play crown bowls up my way. So it's supposed to work because you have a little lump in the middle of the green. But I used to have my little ruler out to measure the grass, and it was great fun.
Oh, excellent! I bet you were loved by the members of that club. You're an important part of that.
Funnily enough, yes, and I wasn't always the best employee because I was quite hard-headed. But every year, when I worked on the greens, every year I was nominated for the best employee of the borough. I was nominated. I never got it, but I was always nominated.
But yeah, by them at least. Amazing. All right, thank you very much. Good evening to you all, and to everybody who's tuned in tonight. We have Louise is here as well. Louise está aqui. Boa tarde from Louise. I got some nice video footage from you, so thank you for that, Louise. I've got a bit of video footage of my hens. You've seen the hen house build. They are in now, and they seem to be enjoying themselves. Got a little bit of video of them. Stephen is here as well. Good evening to you, Stephen Wells. How are you, sir? Nigel Henry. Evening all from sunny Oxford, back in the Algarve in 2 weeks' time. Lots of questions about oranges and nuts. Get them coming in. Nigel, please. Question for Lee straight away. Any idea what is making my jalapeno chili leaves droop. Nobody likes a droopy jalapeno, let's face it. Over or under watering, would you say there, Lee?
Well, it depends. Mine are in the shade at the moment, and they're not doing too well either. With the heat we've had the last couple of days, they're a bit droopy. But mine get watered very irregular, just because of my time at the moment. But that normally regular watering normally does them a favour, because sometimes I miss and sometimes I give them too much. So I'm not sure if you can overwater them, but maybe put them in the shade for the next couple of days while it's really hot, and then let them recover. Yeah,
bit of respite. Bit of respite from the intensity of the sun. And we'll have, as I say, excuse me, we'll have there's a lot of dust and pollen blowing about. I was out with the kids this afternoon, and I took them to the rather grisly scene of Javali, the wild boar. There had been some terrible carnage where wild boars have been fighting each other and literally tearing each other apart, or dogs and boars. And I just thought it was a bit of a rite of passage thing for my kids to see the carnage of a post countryside conflict between these beasts. I mean, they are prehistoric to look at, aren't they? And I don't know what happened. Honestly, don't know what happened.
I watched a pair in Scotland, maybe 10 years ago, batter the living hell out of each other.
Yeah,
and it was like a bloodbath.
Yeah,
and I up on a hill with a pair of binoculars, watching them, fascinated.
Yes,
they look so timid and skittish, but when they think they're alone, they are truly wild animals. They are.
And do they tear each other apart after they've won the battle? Is that what happened? Presumably near where to AiR.
It was to the point, Cal, where I got up and walked away while they were still fighting. It must have been getting on for over an hour of just
Really?
whacking and kicking and stamping and throwing all over. And I got bored and walked off.
Really?
So God knows how for.
Yeah,
But,
it was grisly though. Believe me, grisly stuff. But I thought it's the sort of thing kids should see. I mean, it's all very well seeing fireflies of a romantic evening, but you've got to see the other side of it as well, haven't you? Every aspect, I think, of nature there. Okay, so we've done the chili, we've done the droopy jalapeno. Carlos Vitor is here. Oi, Pocho, abrazo de Portimao. So that's nice. A hug from Portimao this evening. How's life in Portimao at the moment, Carlos? I guess you could do with a few more visitors there. It's all touch and go in Portugal at the moment. Did you have a comment about Nigel's question there, John?
Yes, I just thought with the mention of, was there mention of nuts in there, or was it orange trees? I thought there was a mention of
it was lots of questions about oranges and nuts.
Yeah, lots of questions about oranges and nuts, and it does sound nuts, really. That conversation, it could get very interesting, I think, because very interesting comparisons between the differences between oranges and nuts.
Which is not like comparing apples and oranges, which we might be able to do literally do that with Nigel as well. So the question is,
said that all while I was unmuted.
Well done. Question is, AiR neglected orange trees that have sprouted back from base stock with lots of thorns. Of course, the lesser known side of citrus. They can be pretty vicious, can't they, Lee? And what should he do here to bring the orchards back to life?
Well, you start off by stripping everything down that is thorny, and it's coming from the base. You can strip that out right away. I mean, he's going to be sacrificing this season pretty much because they're just starting to develop now.
Yeah.
But one of the big things he should be really getting his head around is airflow within the upper branches of the tree as well. So not only stripping to the bottom, but taking some of the interior branches out to allow air movement. It stops bacterial growth. Should we have a little walk down to mine?
Here we go. Need a second invitation. Yeah, just show and tell. Show and tell at Mr. McGrady's garden.
We had a very similar issue when we moved in, that the trees hadn't been cared for. And this is a great example, because I'll get to just the light back. See how bare that looks?
Yes.
That's done on purpose. Because it was really bad condition. That's how it should look.
Right.
But when you don't see how it's all, it's full of leaves. And that's just a just sticks at the moment, but that'll be great next year.
Okay.
And next year I'll have a go at this one, and if you can see it very well on the screen, and I'll take a few more branches out on that. I've already thinned a little bit out of all of them.
Yeah.
But you're kind of sacrificing a year to get a better crop in the following year. Comparing apples and oranges. Here's my little apple tree. Doing really well.
It is the time, isn't it? Fantastic.
Yeah. But we've got some little baby growth oranges coming on now. And the other thing he needs to consider as well is his insecticiding. If he's got more than a dozen trees or 5 or 6 like me, you really need to consider working on the insecticiding and the fungicides. And if he's going to do that as a long-term project, he needs to start deciding now what he's going to be using.
Interesting. And what is that? Because when you start to go into a plantation, you lose the biodiversity that might keep the pests down. Well,
the problem here in Portugal is there's a lot of different pests and bacteria and funguses that affect the fruit trees. And if you're going to go organic, then it's much more work. You're spraying on a more regular basis.
Yeah.
Where if you're non-organic, you can get away with 2 or 3 sprays a year. So he needs to weigh up the cost of both, not just in the materials, but also in the time he's prepared to put into it. We've got a great peach tree, and that's taken 6 sprays this year to keep it organic. I've had to spray it 6 times already this year.
Okay, this is interesting. I want to ask you some more about this, Lee, because I live in apple growing country in the hills of Caldas de Rainha here, and you hear the tractors cranking up and going out spraying, and some people are terrified of it, and it's not necessarily doom and gloom or lethal, is it, every time they're spraying, because they might be spraying the Bordeaux or they might be moisturizing even. What are the different sorts of sprays that the commercial growers might be putting on there for people who might be thinking of buying houses in Portugal near to these orchards and plantations?
Well, I think the main one to be concerned about is the copper. They use a lot of copper here in Portugal, and that's a great insecticide.
Right.
But if it's done at the right time of year, when the wind isn't so bad and the heat's not so bad, then it's not a real problem. If it's done correctly at the right time of year.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would personally be concerned about living close to an orchard is the herbicides they use on the floor to keep the growth down.
Oh, okay.
That would be my biggest concern, because they seem to go wild with it here in Portugal.
Like they do on the pavements and the roads, just spraying with the what's the one that's the real controversial one? I can never remember its name.
Glyphosate.
Yeah. So and this is a bit of a contentious issue in Portugal, isn't it? But that's an interesting thing that you say there. So they're actually keeping the weeds down inside the orchard on the floor. It's not to do with the fruit.
Yes, yeah, it's a side effect in an orchard. Not all of them do it. I've noticed some that do, and that would be the one that would bother me.
Okay. Interesting.
But they use a lot of sulfurs and coppers and aluminiums. They're not so bad. They're not as bad as the BBC would make you believe, but the herbicides definitely are. And if they're not used correctly, then that would be the one that would bother me.
Okay, and the metals are for what? For keeping pests down?
Well, they do different things. The copper is for pests. The aluminium is for growth. I think they use a zinc as well at some point. This is metal, the heavy metals that are in the mixes that they use. They're not going around with blocks of copper smashing pump. But yeah, they use for various things. Somebody in the trade would know better than I, would know better than me.
Interesting. Okay. And what is Bordeaux? Because people talk about this Bordeaux spray that goes on the vineyards. Do you know what that's made of, or what's in there?
I have no idea.
Okay, well, maybe we'll look that up.
I can have a look that up. But again, it's not something I.
Well, it's not, you're not near those vineyards, are you? So I think Nigel's been happy to have a little wander around. It's lovely that we've got a show garden at your place, Lee, so that people can actually take a walk around with you. Eric Huizer is here as well. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Do avocados also grow in Portugal? Only the Israeli version, or also the delicious version from Latin America? Have you had any success with growing avocados, Lee?
I haven't personally, but I know that they do. I've got customers that have it in the gardens.
Yeah,
they go very well and they enjoy them. Yeah.
Is it the big ones or the smaller ones? The
big ones. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, controversy in Portugal, the avocado plantations are in trouble with the local authorities, I think, and refusing to stop growing massive water-intensive plantations, I think, down there in the Algarve or Alentejo. From Louise to Nigel, in the first instance, she would cut the lower branches off and prune back any branches coming out from the centre. Pretty much what you said there, Lee. Crush the leaves. Sweet smell, good oranges, bitter smell, poor stock. That's an interesting test. That sounds very village wisdom to me.
I'm going to try that.
Yes, that's really good. And that's the whole business of having a Q&A and sharing tips and advice. Lovely that, Louise. We'll go to your garden in just a moment. Public service announcement from Mr. John Aggett now here. Got you there.
Indeed, there is. I managed to unmute myself this time. Yeah. So, if you did forget to send a question to Anna or comment on her posts about the questions there, then all you need to do is comment on our YouTube video or on the Facebook share from StreamYard, or anything like that, and we will do our best to answer your question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roger. Excellent stuff. Okay, and Anna, I think that we've got a question from your very own garden as well, right? About pests.
I have got a little bit of video. I haven't actually checked, because I think when I was doing this little bit of video, Mum was chatting in the background, so I don't know if there was. But unfortunately, my camera's not incredibly good for picture. But I since worked out what the bird was. But because I have some bird feeders outside the sitting room window, I for the first time I'd actually seen a bird that looks like it had a problem with its foot. I've got a little bit of video if I can just put it up to the camera. It hasn't got any sound. It's where is it?
A hose pipe at the moment. Oh, there he is. All right, yeah.
Green is a sack truck, by the way.
Oh, okay. Not a hose pipe.
But
oh, it's got quite a big sort of swollen foot, like it's got chewing gum on its foot or something, right?
Yeah. So the picture's a bit bright. I don't know why that is.
That's all right. We're getting the gist of it there. It looks like a sort of crime watch. Have you seen this bird that was stealing from a bird table in the Newton Abbot area?
But
CCTV. Look, it's both of its feet are all swollen up.
Yeah, because I was asking my dad about this, and I was just wondering if it was sort of like something that birds commonly get, or if there's anything.
Lee seems to be nodding his head in some sort of recognition in that.
But I hadn't seen it before. I was just wondering if it was anything to do with the condition of the feeders, or if it was just something that it happened to catch. And I wasn't really sure.
Thank you, Anna.
I don't think it's anything to do with your feeders, with your feeders personally. Going back to a previous life, I used to have birds in aviaries, and that would happen not very often, but it did happen, and it was normally a calcium deficiency within the bird, and it could be rectified with a calcium added to the feed. So maybe the bird's just a little bit sickly. Maybe the weather's not been good for it, and it's picked up a deficiency with its calcium, and its feet are swollen up. We see it a lot with pigeons. If you look out, you'll see a lot of pigeons on street pigeons will have the same problem.
Indeed.
And that's because they're eating pizzas and not proper bird food.
There's a lesson to everybody.
Yeah, don't feed your pigeons pizzas.
Yes, and don't eat too much of that stuff yourself. Otherwise, you might end up with swollen feet or something similar. The other thing that you mentioned, Anna, before is that there are a few unwanted visitors coming into the garden. And this often is something to do with perhaps overfeeding birds. And if they don't finish it, it gets left there and you can attract vermin. I mean, that's one way of obviously not having them come, is not to overfeed the birds or only feed the birds as much as they might take away. But this is an issue, Lee, right? In gardens for gardeners since time immemorial. The big pests you don't want, the vermin, the mice and the rats. What's your treatment for that apart from a nice cat?
It's been a really common question back in the UK. We don't get it here because the birds don't seem to use the feeders the same.
They don't, do they?
It's just I bought my feeder from the UK, put it in the garden. Nothing. Nearly gets on the nerves. Because in the UK we used to have a great feeder outside the window. And we had visitors from unwanted guests as well come to that feeder. So there's two ways to deal with it. You stop feeding them in the summertime when they don't actually need the food anyway. A lot of the charities will tell you not to bother feeding the birds in the summer because you're encouraging tighter territories and the birds don't actually need the additional food. So only really use a bird feeder in the winter. And the other way to do it is to alter the way that you feed the birds. So you buy a frame with a dish on it, so it's well off the ground, and the rodents can't get to it because they're really good. They can climb trees without a problem.
Yes.
So a simple pole with a dish on the top is the best way to go.
Very good.
And then you buy an additional dish because underneath it that catches all the bits that get thrown off.
Yeah.
And the good husbandry by keeping the floor clean.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my advice.
That's great. That's really good. Good advice there to keep those unwanted visitors to the garden well away. Crush the leaves again, says Louise. I think this is a supplementary about Nigel's inquiry about oranges and nuts. Crush the leaf of any citrus fruit to distinguish the type. You can smell that clementines are different from lemon leaves. I'm going to try that as well. That's a really great tip, and what a lovely thing to learn and get into your repertoire there, and get the kids guessing maybe. Nigel Henry says 200 plus trees, including almonds, walnuts, almonds, lots of almonds, olives, mummy granites. That'll do. We know what he means, but that's quite a nice way of putting it. And madronia, I think that'll be, and plums, to name a few. I'll tell you what I discovered yesterday is how to get a pine kernel out of a fir cone. I didn't know that. And what a filthy job it is. Have you done that, Lee?
I don't know what you're talking about now.
You know pine nuts that you would use in let's say a pesto in some cooking. They're a little white kernel of a nut. Very expensive to buy. You can crack those out of a big Pinheiro Manso pine cone tree.
Right.
It's the fruit that's in there. And so you break it open at great risk to your fingernails and fingers. And then it's covered in like a sooty substance. So it's quite a difficult thing to get to, but it's out of this world delicious and oily and lovely to eat. But it's hard work. And therein lies why they are so expensive to buy, because people have to do a lot of work to get those out. I mean, same with any of these, like cashew nuts, they're horrible to process, aren't they? And quite toxic, I think. So you're getting your money's worth when you're buying them, even though they do seem expensive to buy. Avocados need a lot of water, says Louise. Very controversial in the Algarve. Nigel's loving the idea of squeezing his leaves when he gets back to Portugal. Deborah's here. Hey, Deborah, how are you doing? Hello, everyone. Also has a theory about the swollen feet. Is it electrocution? That can be a problem for birds, can't it? Of course, and that is their contact with all sorts of things, frozen surfaces, all sorts of problems, hot surfaces. We now live in Mexico, says Eric, but are busy with the visa and to buy land in Portugal. I'm Dutch. My wife is Mexican. We would love to grow our own avocados. It's doable, Eric. It's doable, and we're going to look to you to become the expert in that. Today is a good day. Here we go. He's rubbing it in. NBA was on the morning show with a bit of banter about the football. A good day for the British to have a garden or a yard to unload all the frustration for having lost the Euro. Poor English children who want to eat pizza today. Come on, we're over it already, NBA. Boa tarde a todos from Colorado, USA, from base orbit. And who is this who is not over it? Boa tarde, Carl. angry face. I've had a miserable day. We've been cursed with these penalty failures. Oh dear. Yeah, maybe Deborah says their feet have been electrocuted. This possible. Are there any dangerous insects such as big spiders or scorpions in Portugal, Lee?
Yeah. Well, they're not, not really dangerous. Not really dangerous. There's got to be careful. You'll be fine.
Nice one, Lee. A few more comments before we go to Louise's video, and thank you for it, Louise. I have several almond trees with what looks like lichen on the branches. Is that normal? And do I prune back and water as we're in the Algarve? So almond tree maintenance there, Lee.
It depends on the type of the word's going out my head. Lichen. It depends on the type of lichen. Lichen's a great indicator of clean air, but it's also an indicator of a lot of wood. So, if the tree is past its best, the lichen may be attracted to the rotten wood. Put a picture up in the group. I'll have a look at it and we'll go from there. And I'll have an answer for you next Monday.
Pictures, please, Nigel, when you get to Portugal. Louise sorting Eric out there. Yeah, not lethal. Scorpions are quite small compared to those in South America. Would you pick one up, Lee, in this country?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, people do, and I think it's quite daring and bold to do that. This year we're going to have a look. Go on, mate. What's that?
They're harmless. They're not really dangerous.
Okay, this year we're going. Don't try this at home, kids. Even though Uncle Lee does it. This year we're going to have a lot of peaches, apples, and pears. I have a lot of plums. Best place to be after a day of work is to be in my backyard, says MBA. And it's a great time. Any time of day in it to be in your backyard if you can possibly manage it. Ubi Ominum is here. Bon dia, gente. I'm glad to be listening in. Page d'amour. Peace and love. Nice one. And Eric talking to Louise. Thanks. Great news. Big spiders and big black scorpions scare me. They're not those. They're a kind of pale tan, really, aren't they? Pine nuts are good eating. There, UB agrees with me. We have an urban farm with chickens, all hens. Yes, cockerels. I got a firm no when I was wondering out loud here on this homestead if we should get a cockerel. They can be savage, can't they? That organically fertilize our organic plant garden. We've never used pesticides. Backyard chickens are backyard chickens common in Portugal. Yes, they are. People love to keep chickens here, even cockerels in town. Drives the expats mad. Avocados are good eating, but huge water hogs, says Ubi. And finally, for now, Khadija Anderson. Hello, up in the north of Portugal. I left a question earlier about a ground cover for my new house in Saljo, moving September the 1st. Can you manage that one, Anna?
So I was just actually typing that. I was just actually typing in the group chat. And I was just currently in the process of typing that we had that one in as well. I seem to remember it was
live and direct.
Previous owners having planted in every single area of ground there was, and yes. Just help needed on that one as far as I can remember.
Okay, so could you read it out for us? Are you there, or should I roll the VT and then we'll come back to that?
I noted it in brief, but it was along the lines of buying a house in I can't pronounce the name. It was an area of Portugal, I know. The owner had planted veg in every available spot of dirt, as it said in the message.
Thank you.
Doesn't need or want that much veg, but would like to plant a treadable native evergreen ground cover, not grass, plenty of area elsewhere, no tile or gravel, area is up north and wet as well. Any suggestions?
Treadable ground cover, interesting.
I saw it during the week, and I immediately thought of what in England we call dog violets. It's Vinca major, the Latin name for it. It's dead easy to grow, grows really quickly, makes great ground cover, and you get a pretty little violet flower on it. So dog violets. You can find them everywhere here in Portugal.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to find a picture. Dog violets.
Vinca major or Vinca minor, depending which size you go for.
All right.
But yeah. In England, it would be referred to as a dog violet.
Very good. Okay.
Fantastic cover.
Nice. Another suggestion here. We'll have a look at it in a minute. Aptamia is good ground cover. Bees love it. Semi-succulent with red flowers. Carl has a picture. I do. So let's go to your video now that you very kindly sent to us. Let's roll that VT for an update from the Castelo Branco. Am I right? It's central Portugal. Oh, sorry, Certa area, I think, isn't it? Sorry, Louise. Do remind us in the comments. People need to know these things. So here's the first of the videos.
So good morning. This is Monday morning, the 12th of July, and this is an update from our top horta. This is one where we said we had all that javeli wild boar problem. So the Galisa have been thinned out, but they have self-seeded over the back here. I've got red onions growing in the middle here, tomatoes, and a couple of broad beans that have self-seeded because they went to seed whilst we were in here. So tomato patch, these are the massas, the big apple-sized ones, some red peppers along here, and at the front here we have some courgettes you can just make out there. Over here we've got some struggling peppers which I have moved. These are the feijão helder, the flat Portuguese bean, and some melau, some melons growing here. Overall the javeli cost us about €20 to repair all the damage they did, not just here but on the fruit tree patch and also on the bottom horta. So quite a lot of damage those little beasties caused.
They're buggers, aren't they, as you would say, Lee, from your part of the world?
Yeah, they are buggers.
Truffling about and causing all sorts of chaos and causing Louise to have to sort it out and spend some money there. Let's go to the next video, which is the agapanthus, the ever popular agapanthus on this show.
This is the agapanthus. I posted a picture of a swallowtail on them the other day. These will be transplanted and split out of the pot, and they're now getting water because we've had temperatures up to 38 degrees over the weekend. And if you look closely, because I try and use potting compost again and again in my own compost, I do have a rogue potato growing in there, so I'll probably wait until that flowers, then empty the pot to harvest the potatoes. And as you can see, butterflies and bees on the agapanthus there. Superb plant for this climate, absolutely wonderful.
Louise, that is a shower, isn't it? That should go to the village fete, that one. That's a beauty. Plus the companion planting of potatoes in there. That's a very special, unexpected item in the growing area. I think they're fantastic. Oh, thank you very much. So that's great. And the Aptemia thank you, that Louise recommends is, let me just find a picture of that. It's very beautiful. And I've got the dog violet to show you as well in just a moment, for Khadija, who was asking about that. Where's that picture gone of the Aptemia? I'm going to have to upload it now, I think. Oh, here it is. Sorry, my mistake. I hadn't done it before. This is a real lovely show of colour. There it is. That's beautiful, isn't it? So you could have that attracting the bees there, as you see. And then if I bring onto the screen the dog violet, the Vinca, you called it, didn't you, Lee? Lovely show of green and violet here. If I bring up the collage from the image search, is that the one in question there, Lee? That sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that's the one. I'm on my small phone again, but the colours look right. Yeah,
very beautiful, and lots of foliage as well as the lovely purple flowers, or violet flowers, of course.
Very quick, boys. Takes very little care.
Very pretty as well. Yeah. Orchid-like, fantastic. Okay, while we're on the matter of flowers, you've got another cracking question, Anna.
Yeah, this one, I have a feeling the occasion might have passed for this one, but I suppose it could be used for future reference. What flowers are good for drying to be used as natural confetti that won't lose colour?
Lovely.
I would have no idea.
Roses, right?
Well, yes, roses. There you go. I don't really know. I've never dried flowers. It's not my thing. But I imagine a wisteria would be quite nice. A nice wisteria. You get plenty of petals off one flower.
Yeah.
Geraniums, I suppose, would dry out too quickly and go a dark red. I don't really know. Maybe that's something I shall Google. Yeah, or someone might have the answer in the group.
I think
Yeah.
so, because that's a lovely question. It really is. It kind of extends to potpourri and all sorts, doesn't it? And you can use a hole punch as well, can't you? Or a different kind of punch from a stationery shop to create lovely confetti as well. What a lovely idea. Little business idea as well, possibly. Pippa Young is here as well tonight. Hello, Pippa. Bougainvillea, good for confetti. So there you go. And hibiscus, a suggestion from Deborah as well.
Wait a minute.
He's got it in the show garden. Mr. McGrady's show garden is boasting a bougainvillea possibly here.
We've had a little bit of wind. We've had a little bit of wind the last day, and
look at that.
It's all blown into the kitchen, and it's perfect. Yeah, it's come all the way across the garden into the kitchen.
Can you do that one more time? That is lovely. Very nice. And that is the bougainvillea, not the hibiscus, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Excellent. Eric, in answer to your question, yes, 6:15 on a Monday, Portuguese time. We join up here. You can see Anna and John are in Devon from the Fresh Air team. And the whole project is about encouraging people to get out and grow. And when we started, actually, we were hoping to encourage people with disabilities to get out and grow some of their own food. And it was quite prescient in the time of the lockdown, where people were, maybe doing a bit of food security as well. Thank you very much. Cup of tea's just turned up, as well as the honey on toast. Fantastic. So yeah, 6:15, encouraging people to get out and grow, sharing tips, and Head Gardener McGrady here, who is a professional gardener in the Lisbon area. Who gives us the benefit of his wisdom and experience every week at that same time, 6:15 Portugal time. Khadija, loving it. The vinca, that is. I used to grow them in Seattle. Obrigada. So there's a nice reminder, I think, there for Khadija, who's up in the north. What was it? The Alto Minho, I think, part of Portugal up there in the north. Very interesting to have your input. Bless you, John. Santinho. Saud. I didn't hear that. I could see it. Yeah, good to have your perspective from the north of Portugal as well, Khadija. So do stay with us. A couple of things to share with you from me. Out on the same walk where I showed the carnage of the javali earlier on to the kids, we found a couple of eggs on the floor on a country lane. And then my boy, who's very observant, we found these 2 duck eggs, and he said the mum's up in. So this is a bit further down from what you can see on the photograph. He said the mum's up in the bush, up in the hedge, so like 3 or 4 feet up in the air. You've got mum, and she's actually sitting on. She was edging away from us when she heard us picking up our eggs. We're only trying to help, and we put one of them there, as you can see in the foreground. But she sat on a clutch of eggs underneath her. I don't know, half a dozen, 8 eggs, and she's broken out of her pen just behind us. I've got to let my neighbour know that his duck has escaped, and she is trying to hatch a whole clutch of eggs there underneath her now, basically on a country lane. So she's in quite a vulnerable position, but isn't it amazing just how nature works? And talking as well of hens and hen houses, not exactly a backyard, more of a garden, really. This is Lee. Look away now if you don't want to be reminded of the checker plate overspend here. But this is how the hentagon, as I've described it, as we've christened it, is shaping up. In among our trees there, we've converted an old trailer into a hen house with a few bits and pieces that were left over from other gardening projects and a few bits from the garden centre. And it's got these living gabions, I've called them. Right in front of the hen house, there are 2 parallel stock fences, and we're going to fill them up with cuttings, with brush and stuff from the garden, and grow vines and beans and stuff in there, and have a living gabion basically like making a hedge. And then we've used lumber on the other side, firewood as walls. And there are 5 walls to this hen enclosure, hence its name, the hentagon. Do you like that any better, Lee?
Very nice.
Okay.
Very nice.
And do you like the idea of living gabions then, of like 2 parallel fences with a bit of hedging in the middle, pseudo hedge?
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's something I've done in the past, personally, in my own gardens.
Oh, good.
And, yeah, they work really well, and it's something different, isn't it? You can fit a lot into a small space doing that as well.
Yeah, so, and what would you recommend to chuck in there? Like just the cuttings off the trees, the low-hanging branches, and just garden waste? Everything.
All garden waste, chuck it all in. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. All right. I've enjoyed getting your validation of that. It means a lot to me. Eric's saying, I'm looking busy with buying an old farm with 5 hectares. How much water should I save up in a well and or a pond, do you think, to start a homestead? That's a great question. You would know more than anyone here, I think, Lee, on the water servicing required for 5 hectares.
I would hate to guess. Go for a well. As soon as you move in, have a look in the area for someone that can bore you a decent well, and see what the water's available in your area, and see how much you're going to charge you to do the bore, to bore the well out. But I mean, I know we're on a well here and we use a lot. I mean, I'd hate to think what we spent if we had to do it from the mains. It would be unaffordable. Yeah.
But it is great in Portugal. It's still doable, isn't it? You're still allowed to use your own water here in a way that you're not in some countries of the world. So it's, a lot of people, I mean, there are a lot of old wells, capped wells and so on for safety reasons. But most people in the country here, Eric, do have boreholes and wells. And I think you're going to be in good company. Ask on our Expats Portugal forum about people who've done similar. And I think Louise might be able to help out as well. Yes, the place they're looking at does have 2 wells and a stream. Sounds like you're well placed there, Eric. Thank you for your contributions and for showing up tonight. Okay, so in the final minutes, I think Anna might have something else for us.
I wrote down 2 questions about the passion fruit and the veg area in the Get Growing group. But I've got a question from Dino, and he's got I don't know if this is alpine or normal strawberries or where he lives, but he's basically said now strawberries have finished fruiting. Does he cut back the leaves, or does he just let them shrivel and start up again?
It's a good question. Strip back all the browning leaves, or the leaves that turning brown. Strip them right back, and you should have some shoots coming off. Use a little bit of timber, a little old peg or whatever you need, and use that to peg it down so it makes contact with the ground, and that'll be a plant for next year. So strip back all the dead and dying leaves. Don't leave anything to rot on the plant, and any shoots you see coming off, peg them down into the compost or soil, and let them develop into new plants for next year and the year after.
Perfect. Yeah. My little lad, I don't know if you saw, just brought me a strawberry. First disappointing strawberry I've had in Portugal. Maybe they're too late. They had a beautiful aroma on them, but very little flavour, or a bit sour, very little sweetness, I should say. Just so finally then, Nigel asking, Lee, what does it cost you to run your borehole, if he may ask such a personal question?
Pennies.
All
pennies.
Right. Yeah. Negligible amounts there.
Once the borehole's in, it's a simple water pump, and it's pennies. Yeah. Once you got all the kit in, that's the expensive bit. But then the money comes nothing. It's less than putting the kettle on.
Marvelous. Good to know, which is what you should be doing. Yes, cut back the strawberry leaves, pot up some runners to replace the poor fruities. Fantastic, Louise. Thank you for your contributions. We're going to roll that end sequence thanks to Garvo Austin. Thank you very much for that, Garvo. And I thank you, John. I thank you, Anna, and Head Gardener McGrady. Fantastic. Thank you very much. And thank you for all being here tonight with your fabulous questions. We'll see you next week, 6:15 Portugal time. Take care. Bye for now. And don't
Bye.
get out and grow.
Bye-bye.